So, so good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. We're going to call the meeting to order. And the first order of business is the presentation and approval of the minutes. The minutes have been circulated. I would ask for a motion. It's been moved
Second.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Rogers, I'll turn the remainder of the agenda over to you.
Okay, so next on the agenda is the security transactions. And this is for the time period covering July the 8th through August the 16th. During that time period, we purchased $799,895,000 in securities. During that time period, we also had redemptions of $311,540,000. And during that time period, we did have 3 securities that were called. But other than that, everything else was purchased and acquired according to the rules and investment policy.
Are there any questions?
Why did we buy, it's not a lot of money, well, there's a lot of money, $6 million, we bought the Federal Home Loan Bank notes maturing in '29? Am I reading that correctly? 15 August, 2029?
Yeah. Okay, so we have the police department, we have gambling drugs is a flat amount of money that we invest to them for like five years, and then it just continues to roll over. It's a principal amount that rolls over, and they earn interest off of that. And then the
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of what you said. The police department has a what?
Gambling drug. It's like a amount that we've been holding for years, and the principal $4 million normally sits in their account, and they earn, the interest that they earn, they use that to apply to their operations.
So they confiscated money from gambling and drugs.
The account is called gambling drugs.
So they had a lump sum of $4 million some number of years ago, and now it just keeps sitting in an account rolling over.
Yes.
And they use
The interest earnings.
the interest earnings to pay for what?
Is part of the operations for the confiscating the.
But does it come through their regular budget allocation as part of the police department budget, or is it a separate account that this money is being spent separately?
It's in the police department's budget.
Okay.
Yeah, we can get you that information, but yeah, it would have to go through their regular budget.
Okay. So how long ago did they get this $4 million lump sum?
It's been around, it's a historical amount, let me just tell you. It's been around for about over 30 years, and it's that flat amount that sits into that reserve account for them.
Well, I was just thinking about the fact that it was 4 and now it's 6, and that's with them.
No, $2 million is for the Macon House.
Oh, that's where Macon House money. So is that all of the Macon House money, or is that?
It is, yeah, that's
That's-
the full amount.
That's okay. All right. I'm sorry. We had a whole separate conversation a couple months ago now about we were left a bequest by someone who wanted the city to take care of the Macon House, and it's in a federal home loan making 3.765%.
That's
Okay.
right. And for the Mankin House, that arrangement will be changing with this new structure that we're creating, where we're actually getting a slightly higher yielding 5-year security to create some operational returns for Mankin House. But yeah, that's that $2 million. That's where it lives.
Are there other questions?
No.
No, those were great questions.
And-
Well, I just thought,
Yeah, nice.
the 5-year maturity looked a little strange to me, but anyway.
Yeah.
Hearing
I
no-
pay attention to things like that.
Well, I think it's been a while since we actually had invested in something longer than a year, so.
Hearing no other questions, a motion for the approval of the purchases and redemptions.
So moved.
It's been moved
Second.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion also carries. The market-to-market evaluation.
Yes, this report is as of July 31st, 2024. The amount is $7,864,702 compared to the prior report in June of $7,308,110. Looking at the rates, from June, it moved from, the 10-year Treasury moved from 4.36%. It dropped to 4.9%, 9%. And so therefore, you see a slight increase in the fair market value of the portfolio. And just to note that in the parking, that one is $900 million left on one of the notional amounts that will be maturing next year. So we'll be down to 2 swap agreements.
Any questions? Hearing none, we're accepting the report. And we're going to move to the next item on the agenda, which is the consideration of approval of the amendments to the city's investment policy.
Yeah, so last year, when we addressed the board about the investment policies, we had indicated that we were going to do some studies and analyze our policies and how we relate to what our peer group is doing. And so my colleague here, Michael Sullivan, has did some extensive study on the policies, and he's going to go over what the results of the our research.
Good afternoon. Michael Sullivan, Deputy Chief, Treasury Services. So I think you all can see the presentation on your screens?
Not yet,
Oh, no. Okay.
but you can go ahead.
Okay, so there are 4 main changes that we're requesting for the policy for the city of Baltimore, the investment policy, and they're outlined in the memo. So the first is to be able to add the ability to buy supranational securities. So the supranationals are the World Bank, the IFC, the African Development Bank, the Asian Development Bank. Those are AAA-rated sovereign debt instrumentalities. So the United States is on the board of the World Bank and the IFC, and so they have veto power. Again, these are AAA-rated securities, which are actually higher than the United States Treasuries and the agencies that we buy. So we're not really worried about the risk there, but it's about increasing yield and some diversification. So that is one of the changes that we're requesting. The second is that we would like to be able to buy up to 40% of the portfolio in commercial paper. And that, again, is down from 10%. That is a goal to increase the yield because up from 10%, right. That is a goal to be able to increase the yield also because a lot of times the commercial paper, which we're already approved to buy, is yielding higher than treasuries and agencies. The third request is to increase the amount that we can put into MILGIP, the Maryland Government Investment Program, up from 40% where it currently is to 100%. That is just in the event that there are large cash infusions that we can't invest at one point. So as opposed to leaving it in a bank earning nothing, we'd be able to put more than the 40% into MILGIP for a specific amount of time. And the fourth change is, what was kind of just mentioned, is to change the way that the maturities are governed, where we currently can buy up to 1 year maturity on individual securities, not including a carve-out. So I think when you mentioned the $4 million longer maturity, we're approved to buy up to $100 million, up to 5 years. This is to change that from an individual security maximum to a maximum on the entire portfolio. So changing to 18 months, down from what is effectively 12 months, but I'll kind of go through that. So on the next page, again, we just want to go through individually what we're requesting. So right now, we're approved to buy treasuries, agencies, repos, bankers' acceptances, commercial paper, money market funds, MILJIP, and certificate of deposit. We're requesting to add one type of security, which are the supernatural nationals. On the next page, we are looking at the restrictions that we have as far as what we can buy. So right now, what we're requesting is going from commercial paper, being able to purchase from 10% up to 40%.
When I look at the actual document, it says 25%.
25% for
It
commercial
says,
paper.
yeah, it just says 25%
But it says the
when I look
total.
at the actual
Not to
amendment
exceed.
that you have,
It's on page,
page 8.
right.
Of course I'm right.
7.
Page 7 of the,
Yeah, page 8,
Yes.
item 7.
Thanks, Bill.
What is it? I circled it.
I see, we can adjust that. The request is for 40%.
It's just a typo.
Yes.
Page 8.
I see that. That's from the old policy. That's the existing
There it is.
policy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Red line, yeah, it's
Item
red
7.
lined.
Item 7, commercial paper. I mean, honestly, I was gonna ask whether it's 40 or even just 25. When I just went looking around for other, banks have best practices at 10%.
And the state's 10%.
Yeah, why are we going above that?
So that, because the yield on commercial paper is generally significantly higher than treasuries and agencies, but the risk is similar. This is the highest rated commercial paper. So you're talking about A1P1 instrument that lasts, generally, we would buy from, 3 weeks to maybe 6 weeks, but you can earn 30 to 40 basis points higher than a similar agency or treasury bond.
Can I ask a generic question? Somewhere in here it says that investment decisions are made by meetings of the Director of Finance and Treasury. Do you ever get any outside advice, or is it all internal?
We deal with brokers who sell us securities. Those brokers may have opinions on what we should
Yeah,
buy.
I don't like that.
Right, they would have suggestions,
I
but,
wouldn't depend on the
right,
brokers.
so I guess the answer is no,
The answer is no.
yes.
Could I follow up that question, slightly different one? The commercial, there is a reason that commercial paper brings a higher return, and I thought it was curious that the example that you cited of the commercial paper was
Natexis,
Natexis,
Yep.
which is actually a French bank.
correct.
And it always is paying a premium over the market. Now, they're a major participant in worldwide money markets, and they're as much in the euro as they are in the dollar, but when we're lifting it from 10 to 40%, at least I might be concerned if 40% of your $500 million was in the commercial paper entirely issued by non-US institutions. I mean, I've got,
Could I insert another insert?
perhaps, I mean,
Do the brokers get a higher percentage on commercial paper when they trade it?
generally, no.
They don't charge fees, so they sell it to us at a level, and they buy it at a level, so
It's,
they make the spread from where they buy it to where they sell it, but
Yeah, but they may,
they don't,
somewhere in the middle there.
right, they don't
there's
necessarily
they're
charge
doing
us
something.
additional to buy commercial
It's not
paper.
a commission-based
Right.
market. It's a spread-based market.
Correct.
We're getting a slightly higher return. and
Sometimes significantly.
sometimes significantly, and nobody else benefits from the idea that we're
That's what I-
investing in more commercial.
That's what I
paper.
was trying to pin down,
No,
no.
no one benefits from
Then
us.
then it's surprising that the state hasn't also looked at increasing the threshold. Do you talk to your colleagues at the state about whenever you are interested in changing policy, asking them if they've considered this?
No, but what they suggest is that we send them our policy after it's approved, but we don't have to have conversations with them like on a consistent
They
basis.
suggested you send them
They
our.
require.
Yeah, I shouldn't say
okay.
suggest, it's required,
Oh,
yeah,
it's-
it's written in the code.
Correct.
Okay, I guess I'm a little surprised that we would be setting the pace on this.
And when you look at, if you look at the investments that are in the MILJIP right now, there's commercial paper similar to Natexis, if not Natexis, in the MILJIP that we're invested in through the MILJIP.
But no more than 10%.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what, that's a big jump.
How did you pick 40%?
It was just a number that was increased, just because I know that when we're investing, sometimes the way the market is set up, you might be able to buy commercial paper at such a premium to everything else. I would buy some of that, and so I wouldn't have to worry at 10%, because that's a very small number.
Are you
It would
making
just-
these decisions?
I generally do the purchases, yes.
See, that troubles me, I have to say, that you're making these decisions.
Well, the
Just you?
policy, yeah, well, the policy, whether for the city code, states that the Treasury Department, the chief, bureau, the deputy chief, and the Treasury assistant will be the ones making the decisions on
Well,
the
the way
investments.
the policy reads is it'd be a discussion with the Director of Finance and Treasury.
And to be clear, we set the big picture, high-level policy in meetings that I have with Treasury weekly. The day-to-day, the Treasury team handles the actual purchasing, but the guidance is part of a bigger conversation we're having, and it's also kind of part of why we're choosing now to bring this to the board. It's been obviously a very high rate period of time in the markets where these decisions now are much more impactful, much more meaningful. There's definitely a balancing point that we need to make between risk and return, but we're at a point where the returns and the decisions that we make that lead to these returns have a very real and significant impact on the city. So what I asked the Treasury team to do is to look at what could we do within best practices that would still have a fundamentally safe, sound risk exposure at the AAA level. I think.
But there
Go ahead.
have been failures in the commercial paper market, notwithstanding AAA-rated paper. I went through that experience. This is an ancient experience, Arnold, at Mahifa, but we had that experience at Mahifa where we had invested in AAA paper and on behalf of a local hospital, which will go unnamed, and it got very messy.
Sure.
Because there was default on that paper.
Right.
So, I'm sorry, but, so, apart from feeling slightly uncomfortable with 40% of this portfolio being issued to foreign headquartered banks, I had a couple of questions, perhaps more fundamental. On page 3, it says, the following persons are currently authorized to engage in an investment transaction on behalf of the city: Deputy Director of Finance, Chief of Treasury Management, Deputy Chief of the Bureau of Treasury Management, and the Treasury Assistant. Now, does that mean, what is it? Is it execute or is it engage?
Execute.
Maybe a better word would be execute.
I think execute means signature.
Well, but to engage, is the Treasury Assistant going to be negotiating with a commercial paper broker?
He can make the purchases. Like, so if someone has to contact a person or, you know, receive a
Yeah.
trade ticket, the Treasury Assistant can do that, yes.
But I don't think I'm
So,
making
so why
myself
don't you
clear.
just explain the
Can-
procedure as to
Can a
how you
Treasury
get there?
Assistant initiate a purchase on their own?
They would, I mean,
So, in the past, the Treasury Assistant, if we were like down one person, at one point where it was just me and someone else.
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
Treasury- They were able to purchase securities, but they will come to me to make the final decision whether they can execute the security.
That
But they
was-
can contact the brokers and find out what's out there and bring it to
Well,
us.
then can we clarify that? Because that's not exactly, I think, maybe I'm not reading it properly, but I don't think that's what it says. And I had,
I was just going to suggest that, and you may want to proceed on to your next point first, but for the language, you might want to call up the law department and ask them.
well, I'll have the, okay,
Yeah.
the law department's here, so. I don't want to get boggled down in semantics, but there was one paragraph in here that, and perhaps I've been around too long. It's on page 4, paragraph 2. Upon the completion of each fiscal year, the Bureau of Treasury Management shall provide to the Director of Finance in a timely manner a comprehensive annual report on the investment, blah, 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 blah. I'm sure you do that, but wouldn't it be useful for this board also to see that?
Actually, you should have been getting monthly reports as well,
And that-
so.
we do get the monthly
Right,
reports. This
and-
is something very different.
Well, it's the same report. It's just everything for the whole year, summarizes everything for the whole year.
Which would be nice also.
It's a
Because-
summary.
Yeah, it's just, I just like, could we also get that?
You know,
Yeah.
some kind of of the activity over a year. I mean, we approve it each month, but it'd be nice to see what we,
How it's going?
yeah, well, we've done it over a whole year period. How have we done?
Okay.
I don't want to burden you with any more work, but,
No, that's fine, because it will be the same report that we provide to the
right.
director.
Yeah.
We don't want to do it.
God, I can't read my own handwriting. Oh, yeah.
Tell us what page you're on.
Well, I'm just. Do we ever do cedars? We've approved to do cedars, but do we do them?
We don't do them.
I didn't think so. I mean, why in God's name would we? That is,
What page?
yeah, here we go. It's page 11 at the top, certificates of deposit, cedars or bankers acceptances.
right, CDs are just CDs. It's just a way to buy bulk.
Cedars are,
It's just it's a bulk CD, so as opposed to buying 250 at a clip, you can buy, right.
no, I
So it's
understand
just- it's
exactly
just
what a
CDs.
cedar is. They're used for retail brokerage accounts.
Right,
They're
and
not
we do
used
have,
for the
we do
city
have
of Baltimore.
CDs on the book. Or we do have at least one CD on the book.
You buy bankers acceptances?
No.
We don't,
I didn't think so.
no. But it was,
I would hope you wouldn't either.
They have the ability to,
Yes, they do.
and I think that that's part of not the issue, the policy is really guidance. And so it's giving them the right, not necessarily that they take the right.
Yeah, except it must be a National Banking Association. Okay, that's all right. Just one last question, and I'll stop. On the penultimate page, which is number one, before you go into repos, you say that the custodian must have a minimum investment grade rating. That would mean triple B.
Wilmington Trust is the custodian, so I would imagine they're rated over triple B, yes.
So you want it to be, say triple B?
Well,
Is-
that's what actually, minimum investment grade is a single B. I don't think we want that.
Well, investment grade is triple B minus and above.
Yeah.
So it's investment grade over, and I don't even know that Wilmington Trust is a triple B minus, but the custodian would have to be triple B minus or better. But Wilmington Trust might be triple A. I mean,
Yeah.
Is there a reason we wouldn't want, is there a reason we wouldn't want to specify a higher grade?
Okay, so with the safekeeping contract, that's part of our banking services contract. And I believe they are rated, at least in the A's.
But I mean, when we put our banking services out for bid, we can make a certain grade level be a requirement in order to bid on the business. And if they lose that rating, that can be a reason for us to drop them and move on. But that would address the concern about just investment grade. Could be any.
M&T is your bank right now, isn't it?
That's correct.
And their rating, their debt rating, I think, is what, triple B?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure about what the debt rating
I
is.
think it is, and that's fine. I buy triple B bonds all
Okay.
the time, but I'm not the city of Baltimore.
Mhm.
Um,
So-
And if you specify single A, you're eliminating an awful lot of banks. The rating services are really tough on banks. But I would think you will want something at least triple B or better as a custodian.
Well, this is investment
But
grade, so it's
I-
triple B
look, I-
minus or better. This is triple B or
Yeah.
better.
I'm just trying to go through here and
And
I've
freshen
done
it.
this for a livelihood for a long time.
I mean, we can, add that information, that language into our policy.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I don't, and I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it. I'm just not very comfortable with 40% of the city's $500 million or more,
You're not comfortable or comfortable?
with being in,
Did you say not comfortable?
I'm not comfortable with being in commercial paper. I think you ought to.
I agree with that.
I think there ought to be a more reasonable level.
I have more questions.
Go far
Before
away.
you did,
Yeah.
before you did, so we can kill that one point, as far as the commercial paper requested restriction, where there's not a comfortability currently at the 40% level. Are you all comfortable at the 25 level? as
Policy.
Part of your
written policy
policy.
said 25.
Yes.
So,
I move
Yeah.
25%.
I still have questions.
Sure.
So-
We never doubted it.
I guess the first question is, we're talking about thresholds, we're talking about
Got it.
ceilings. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you already at the 10% ceiling for commercial paper?
We don't own any commercial
We don't have
paper.
any commercial
You
paper.
know, It's never appeared on a report.
Okay, so, why would there be any request to increase holdings when we don't have any?
Because we currently, for example, we would currently buy discount note, agency discount notes up to a certain amount, and we know how much we buy of that, and we know what it yields. So if we had the opportunity to buy commercial paper for the same tenor, but that yields better, we would probably do that more.
and just want to remind you that this isn't saying this is what we own. It says that this is our our policy, and this is our guidance, at any one time, our maximum is capped here. So it's not saying even that they're gonna buy it, but they have the ability to. I'll use just a great example. Right now, we're talking about the Super Nationals, where they own none, but they also realize that they're leaving some money on the table.
Right?
So, but the ability to buy it, they have that now. And again, it was something that the state added to their policy many years ago. But because now the city is changing theirs, it's not a stagnant document. It's one to give them more room until the next time you change
So, but
your
that,
policy.
but that, that really kind of reinforces, my question about this. Like, first of all, you know, we didn't have any authority to purchase Supernationals. You're asking for that. There seems to be an appetite to try that at 5%. And the state has already, you know, they've already adjusted their policy to allow that, and we're following the state. That all follows. It is a completely different thing to have the authority to purchase commercial paper, not appear to be using it, and ask for a dramatic increase in the amount you can purchase when the state has not done that first.
I want to try to explain the city's thinking a little bit here. To Arnold's point, this is upper end guidance, and it's upper end guidance that we review every once in a while. To be frank, we probably, you know, years go by between changing policies. What we saw in the market in these last couple of years is a lot of change very quickly that we weren't always poised to react to because these ceilings weren't in the right place. The thinking behind this was to look at different types of instruments that other institutions deemed as safe and leave them as options for us if the market conditions call for it. Now, with that being said, I absolutely kind of hear everybody on 40% not being a comfortable level. So I actually think if we already wrote 25% into the proposal, I'd be comfortable with that if the board would be.
How about no more than 10% in non-US domiciled institutions?
So 25% total
25%.
for commercial paper, but no more
No more
than,
than 10%.
That would be fine, because the commercial paper market is really large, so that would still give us a decent amount of options to purchase.
Still gives you $50 million, and
Absolutely. And to be really honest, for me,
the
yeah.
commercial paper market is, it has big hiccups.
Absolutely. And for me, the commercial paper part of this proposal wasn't the highlight of this proposal. It was literally just one more tool in the tool basket. I think that
Well, it certainly was highlighted to me, Michael. I mean, it just,
I understand.
whoa,
I
what is
understand.
this?
I think that 25 with a 10 cap on international sounds reasonable.
yeah.
I'm fine with that.
I am as well.
Since we've now put that subject to bed, I think I'd like to move on to the MLGIP, where 40% to 100% is a very dramatic jump. And I was looking to see if the rest of the board was comfortable with that.
We've been dealing with them for years, and over the, I can understand exactly the proposal, because over the years, they've been in perfectly safe investments, but they always seem to be able to get they seem to be able to do a little bit better than we can in investments. And like,
That-
you've
and
been
that's-
doing this for.
Yeah, and that is correct, because of course they have a bigger pool and they can go out longer on the curve with us. When the market starts moving, it doesn't impact them as fast, as rapidly as it affects us. So we can still put money in and still earn those extra basis points, and then because it's liquid, we can take it out as the market moves. So it's a liquid fund, and we can get it within a day if we ask, call and do a withdrawal. So it's just a way of us giving us, once again, more capacity to be out there and get whatever we can get as the market moves.
Yeah, that did,
Well, can I make I think it's a good thing that that you're again examining these policies as markets change, and I think that's very commendable.
And then as well as our peers, we
that's
looked
a
at.
very nice job. I really do.
And our peers, they also had 100 in their investment policies as well.
I think some of them did, but it's for a situation for where I think, and I don't remember if it was 21 or 22, so if we got a large infusion of cash, like with the government money, and then in the time between when you feel like you're going to invest it and it's sitting in the bank, you could put it in MILJIP, and so that may push the percentage to over a certain
I
amount.
understand that.
But it's not like it would be used to just put large portions of the
Yeah.
portfolio for long periods of
I
time.
think it's highly unlikely that this will ever occur.
But that 500 million did come in, and so we could have put it there as opposed to having it in the bank.
I don't feel, my personal feeling is not as strong about that as the commercial paper allocation.
Is everyone now comfortable? And the changes and amendments with the noted changes, there is a need for a motion.
Actually, there was a question about something that was in the document but wasn't discussed as the summary. It was, one of the lines that we're cutting from the policy is, no security in this category can be sold at a loss without the prior written consent of the Director of Finance. And I was curious as to why did you feel the need to remove that from the policy?
I just really, because I didn't see the reason for it to be there. Like, just in the event that something came up where we needed to sell a security, I wasn't sure why we would need to get approval to sell it if we were taking, if it made sense and you needed to take a loss. I just didn't understand why you would have to get approval for that.
You generally hold all securities to maturity, don't you? That's the,
Yes.
there's one more question, Mr. Sullivan. You have maturity. Is duration a better?
I thought about that. I just didn't know if it was, I didn't know if it was too complicated to really go through the explanation, to be honest.
That's fair,
Yeah,
that's fair
yeah,
enough. 'Cause
yeah.
I think in terms of duration, not.
Right. But that would actually extend our maturities, and so if people weren't comfortable with longer maturities, then
Yeah,
to
okay.
just have the
That's
duration,
fair
have it
enough.
extended, so.
Yeah,
And just to address your
I still,
question,
right.
yeah.
that if we were, most of the time, if we were selling a security, it'll be at the direction of the director because we need a pool of money for something. So it will fall underneath his purview to say, okay, we're coming to you, we can get you the money, but this is the implication, this is what may happen if we sell this particular security. So the Director of Finance would be part of the decision as well, even though it's not written in the policy.
But
If we had to do it, it's because we had to have an emergency fund if we can't get it from the MILGIP to buy down some longer-term securities that we had out there.
But it is in the policy now. You're proposing taking it out, and you're saying he's going to be involved anyway. We're just taking it out of the policy that he has to be. And that's where to me, that raises a flag of either this should never have been in the policy in the first place, and I'm open to the possibility that that's true, that I do not assume that because something is in writing from years ago that it's still valid. I get that. But I want to be clear, why are we saying that the director does not have to be involved? Because that's what removing this is us saying.
Right, in the day-to-day management, in 2016, when rates went up, there were a lot of securities on portfolios that were lower yielding. So then the math came where you would say, do I sell a security at a lower yield, take a loss, and put the money into something higher yielding? And so just that would go on every day. So just to have to go to the director to say, do we do this one, do we do that one? Whereas you would only do it because it made sense to take a loss on a security for a certain amount of time and then put it
Jackson Hole,
into.
2022, you wanted to dump the whole portfolio.
Right, because, and 5 years from now, when rates go down and then they're coming back up, you may have securities that are lower yielding, even though that's really what this goal is to not have a lot of lower yielding securities. So then you would want to sell some, or you might want to sell some, take a small loss, and then put it into higher yielding securities, because net you would make more.
I'm not concerned about that you might want to do it, and it might be good and necessary to do so. I'm trying to get an idea of why we are taking out the requirement that the director of finance is definitely consciously on board with doing it, which could be done by an email that talked about a broad situation, giving you operating discretion during a period of time. But it would show that the director definitely bought into the idea.
And to speak to the thinking here, all of the policy changes that were part of this review were meant to further professionalize the department and give operational flexibility on the ground for precisely those moments that Mr. Sullivan just talked about, when you have a lot of things going on in the market, and ideally there's some kind of quick response coming from the city. With that said, this is not one that I particularly felt strongly about. I didn't think that I needed the protection as finance director to have something in policy that says my staff have to talk to me, because I'm absolutely confident that both I and my predecessors and my successors will continue to be actively involved in this. But I don't feel very strongly about this change if the board is not comfortable.
The only point I'll make is that with all respect, you are confirmed by the city council.
Sure.
And have a measure of direct accountability.
Sure.
To the broader, the rest of city government and the people of Baltimore. And as bureau heads and deputies, you're less directly accountable in that regards. And so if operational decisions that result in the city losing money are made, even with good intent, and but without the clear inclusion of the person who is in charge. I just don't see.
The point is well taken. I'd actually like to ask a clarifying question.
You want that there.
Yeah.
Just, I want a quick clarifying question for either the Treasury team or law. Is your understanding of the current policy that the director could just send an email? And further, can that email be descriptive of a general strategy rather than individual transactions?
That was too long, was that?
That's too.
The policy as written just says prior written consent, and an email is written. So
You
yeah.
would want that.
Yeah, no, I think we want to double check with the law department, but for right now, I'd be happy to pull the change back. And I absolutely hear everyone. I think the thinking again was just maximum flexibility, but there are some very good arguments here.
Have you been
So,
following the policy?
Yes.
and we're talking about an extremely rare event that
Yeah,
I don't believe has actually occurred under my tenure.
No.
I mean,
yeah.
I trust this
Yeah.
lady.
Like, first of all, I would be surprised that the need to do this is a common one, right? You're not doing this all the time.
Well, again, in 2016, it was very common. That was my point,
Yeah.
really, is that it's it's as active, it's as common as buying.
Right.
So, but that was
But you
specific.
want
time.
everybody signing off on it. You don't want,
Yeah.
to be hanging out there on a
If you
limb.
want the decision made quickly, if you got to make it quickly.
Look,
Well, but you can also, I mean, this is the age of, global 24-hour, communication. It's not like the director is going to be unreachable.
I
It's not
accept
a
that.
critical change.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not
Accept that.
critical, yeah.
exactly. This is just,
Yeah,
Yes, we can leave
just
this.
good
Yeah,
order.
I think,
And you're only leaving in a sentence in that section E,
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
not going back.
not the whole thing,
to
yeah.
Putting the remaining items.
Yeah, I think the weighted average maturity concept is a cool way to deal with that.
Yeah, we don't want to
It's
get.
gonna,
into
it's gonna,
that.
it's gonna be
Someone's
more
gonna
work
ask
for
to
you.
explain duration, and you don't want to get into explaining
We couldn't
duration.
calculate it on Excel anyway, so without a system, we couldn't describe it.
And that's the good thing too, we do have
It's
an
fi-
investment
it's
system now.
Weighted average maturity.
So here's a question, and this is more of a logistics question for everybody. Do you want to take notes on what we've all just agreed to and bring back the changed version next month? Or is there some type of urgency to do the change that we need to make sure that we're getting the language changes right now so we can approve them now?
There is a soft urgency for me because with actions I'm sure everybody is familiar with at the Fed, rates are falling as we speak. If this was like 2 months ago, I would say well, there's not too much urgency. Right now, it feels like there's a bit of urgency because some of these changes would have a meaningful impact on our returns. So the preference would
Okay.
be to amend now if we can.
All right, who's our scribe?
So,
But can we see the amended version?
Are we
Yes.
able to do that?
Yes.
Actually, I know, perhaps, is this a situation where we could approve the changes in concept, and then you could circulate something by email that has the updated language, and we could, each formally vote, yes, I'm good with this language to the emails?
my recommendation is that we approve the policies with the amendments. In the minutes, we'll get the amended,
Yeah, they can,
policy.
That's fine.
If
And we can make the corrections at the next
Correct.
meeting if there was a disagreement.
it's all,
Okay,
it's
that's
all,
fine.
Great, great
it's all
suggestion.
recorded.
Okay.
Great suggestion.
Okay. So I would like to entertain a motion for the approval of the amendments to the investment policy
Pursuant to our discussion.
pursuing to our discussion. Thank you very much.
I so move.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the consideration and approval of the advertisements of the 2024 loan authorizations.
Yes, so this is, I would say, a routine that we normally do every election cycle, that we bring to the board, the ordinances that were passed for the loan ballots to appear on the November loan. So this year, we want to advertise in the Afro-American and the Baltimore Sun, so it have to be two local publications. And the ordinances will be advertised on October 22nd, 2024. The board approved back in March of 2025 for us to issue no more than $125 million in the loan authorizations for fiscal year 26 and 27. The ordinances was approved by the city's delegation at the General Assembly, the Board of Estimates, and the City Council. And at this point, if it's approved by the voters, it will appear in the city's capital report and pass through the annual ordinance of estimates. So the 4 questions that we have on the bonds is affordable housing loan for $20 million, the school loan $55 million, the community economic development $50 million, and the public infrastructure loan $125 million. So altogether, that's $250 million for those 2 years. And this is only a one-time advertisement for the ordinances. We also included, for informational purposes, because these are advertised as well, the charter amendments, and we have 6 of them. Questions H through J, they are changes that was initiated by the citizens, so it may be possible they may not appear on a ballot, but we have them here just to have the approval to move forward, just in case these are all approved.
Are there questions?
I get why we do this for the bond bill questions. Do you know why the Board of Finance has to approve the newspaper ads for the charter amendments?
It was just practice.
Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah.
It's like the cobblestones.
Yeah.
I just have a question, it's maybe me, on question C of the bond issue. It looks like the 6th line from the bottom, that Progra 125. It just want to make sure that's a typographical error, or I need to do a Google search.
Oh, Progra 125S.
Oh, it's probably programs. Yeah.
Okay.
programs.
I just wanted to know if I had to do a Google search.
No, it's programs.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Need an
That
S.
sounds like something my physician would prescribe.
Yeah. I think when it translates, sometimes when you copy from a PDF, it may,
Ask your doctor if Progra 125S
Right.
is right for you.
Right.
okay.
So as it relates to the other items that are within the packet, it's just for information. It's not for us to make changes or anything like
No.
that, correct? Okay.
So, move approval.
It's been moved to approve the advertisement of the 2024 loan authorizations and other items similar.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Is there any other business to be brought before us?
None today.
Okay, thank you. Just to indicate that the
Can
next,
someone tell me what question J is? I mean, I read through them all. I thought I understood
Which
them
one
all.
is J?
regional transportation.
We're-
Oh.
We're gonna, then I was actually more interested in, we're gonna make an annual appropriation of $1 million?
Is that the baby bonus fund?
Baby.
No, this is
The
the,
Baltimore
Baltimore
Transportation
this is the Baltimore
Authority.
Regional Transportation Authority Mandate Fund that we're gonna, a non-lapsing fund, and it'll be subject to an annual appropriation of $1 million.
Oh, I didn't realize that one was successful.
Yeah. What, from other matters, what I understand from the transportation fund is they're really trying to look at transportation from a regional manner. And that not only is this dealing with Baltimore City, but it's also dealing with a number of the other jurisdictions. And I'm certain that that's why the fund is being created, so that Baltimore isn't the only one who's ponying up. Because,
I would hope. I'm gonna be a consultant in my next life.
and since we've already voted on the matter, the only thing left in this particular meeting is to remind everyone that the next meeting is September 23rd. Okay? And with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Yeah,
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.